Hello once again.
Hello.
With October coming to an end, I thought we'd do one more reaction to the Longbox of the Damned. Today's video is the Longbox episode on John Carpenter's Tales for a Halloweenight, Volume 1. And this is from the first year that Lewis Lovhaug started doing the Longbox bumper contest, which is where fans could submit short videos with the Longbox logo and possibly get them selected, so there'll be an extra special treat at the end of this little video.
Emerge from the fog to fight a thing, my children. John Carpenter has himself quite a reputation with horror movies. But how does he fare when he puts together an anthology comic book? And like all good anthologies, we have ourselves a horror host. Can't imagine why I'm happy to see one of those, my children. In this case, it is the grounds creeper, who of course brings us, in prosy ways and less sequential arty, 6 stories of people buried beneath the graves he cares for. The first was written by John Carpenter himself, a little tale of the quantum state of dead or not dead in The Ghost Maker. Our narrator here, now in an asylum, writes out the events of Halloween night 5 years prior. He was a scientist visiting a former friend of his for some brandy. They had fallen out due to their differences of approach, and we see one such questionable approach as our narrator drinks some drugged brandy. His friend claims that he can use universally accepted scientific principles to create a ghost. He just does not mention that our narrator will be the guinea pig, as, based on the concept of Schrodinger's cat, our narrator is put into a state of both death and life, so that he comes face to face with his own ghost. Next up is a little story of seasickness called At Sea, where a group of friends are sailing to Hawaii, but one soon falls ill. A dark shadow seems to come into the cabin at night while he's resting, and soon one of the others gets injured investigating the shadow. One by one, the group are killed with a strange injury in the back of their heads. The lone survivor desperately tries to reach Hawaii, finally spotting it in the distance to his relief, but also to the relief of Cthulhu here, who clearly needs a rest of his own. Third up is a tale of revenge from beyond the grave, or rather, right inside of it. 2 criminals are digging up a grave on behalf of a crime boss, trying to steal a diamond ring from the body, only to discover a limo has been placed in the grave. But when they open the sunroof, something pulls one in. Telling their boss about it later, the survivor leads him and his goons to the grave to see what happened. And of course, all end up inside of it, with our survivor walking away at least with a ring of their own. Speaking of criminals, here is another story of some. A cheerful, well-read man meets with his own boss after a job. That one was more successful, with all 3 surviving, aside from a bullet in the leg at least. They had rested for the night in an odd structure, but when they decided to depart, they found that they had invaded the home of some hungry insects. Our storyteller just barely got out alive. But the funny thing about the insect's tendency to eat you alive, you can't actually feel it happening. On the subject of feeling things, this story features a man who felt he had nothing left to live for. Until he was in the act of suicide anyway. He was just able to call 911 to save himself. But it seems he now has a squatter in his own body. Yes, a demon has possessed his body during the brief time he was dead, and the two go through a battle of wits and endurance to try to take final possession of the body. Who wins out? Well, let's just say hell is nice this time of year. But finally we have a story that's not as impressive or as original as the others, but of course is still full of murder and mayhem. A poor woman spots a more luxurious woman being mugged and killed on the streets, as she screams that her attackers don't want her possessions. our poor protagonist takes a ring off her body that she can feel is full of magic and power. Not realizing, of course, that where she goes with the ring, death follows. Until it results in her own, of course. John Carpenter's Tales for a Halloween Night delivers exactly what they promise. Spooky tales, either written by or recommended by someone who knows all too well how to scare you this Halloween.
Fucking A. So that was the Longbox episode on Volume 1 of John Carpenter's Tales for a Halloween Night. What'd you think?
Well, it was interesting that he didn't work each of the stories very much, but he went through and told us all what the stories were for the anthology. That was interesting. Well, let's just get this out of the way really quick, though. Lewis has perfected the laugh.
Yeah.
And you said you've heard him say that he, by the end of the Halloween month, he's not talking very well.
Yeah, like he puts out a long box every single day in October.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they're short, to save time, he puts on the makeup and shoots all 31 short videos in a row. And by the end, I'm surprised he can still have a voice.
Yeah, anyway, he's great at that. It's a good presentation. And
The voice, it sounds like Bela Lugosi if he was a 5-pack-a-day smoker.
So, but yeah, I like the piece. It makes you want to, maybe, I'm not a comic guy, but I would probably read these just to see what they are.
Check it out.
Yeah.
It's John Carpenter.
And well, John Carpenter wrote the first one.
Yeah.
And recommended by, it's probably good enough. So.
And the general format of Longbox is he doesn't do a ton of jokes throughout.
Mm-hmm.
He might do one or two, but for the most part he's just recapping the comic.
Right.
And it's with that ghoul voice of Morate that really makes it enjoyable.
It's a lot of fun. And he looks like even if he's doing the middle of the month or something, I don't know when this came up, he looks like he's enjoying himself. He really does, and that's good too.
Lewis loves he loved watching like horror movie marathons with hosts like Elvira or Joe Bob Briggs. So he said he felt like there's not enough horror host shows anymore.
Well, I could see that. They'll come around again. Everything does.
Yeah, and of all the stories of this comic, the one with the guy who didn't notice his legs got eaten by the bugs.
Oh,
It seemed like the funnest one.
You can't feel it. Oh. And then the graphic novel representation of it is pretty graphic, yeah.
Yeah. And just gotta mention it, what did you think of the little fan-made bumper at the end?
Oh, in some ways it was very elaborate.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a lot of stuff there that they were panning through, shooting through, and it was I don't know if he got it all for this or if he or she is a Halloween enthusiast and he just has that stuff. But that was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, it was a good ongoing shot with no cuts, and yeah, it was cute. The Longbox bumper contest, he's been doing this 3 years in a row now, and it's a great thing. Allows the fans the chance to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you know any of those fans that do that?
I've only interacted with one.
Mm-hmm.
I told him his video was good, and
right.
he told me my submission on the first year was good. And just to say it, and this may sound a little self-promotish, but I've submitted each year this contest has been going, and I've been lucky enough to get picked each time. So it's really I've really become into the long box.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always was a big fan before the contest, but this really makes me get into it.
Oh yeah, it's fan participation. It's self-promotion, but it's a lot of fun for everybody, I'm sure.
And the following year, he covered Volume 2 of the Tales of a Halloween Night, and that one's a little longer, but also pretty fun, and I'm really glad we got to do this. I think you like the long box just as much as I do.
Well, it's fun. Because I get in on the production of your 15 seconds of video, and it's kind of fun from that end too.
And thought it was cool hearing him play the thing music throughout the video. Apparently he knows how to do that and get by the bots. Well, this has been a fun month of October for everybody, content makers alike, and have a happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.